Great morning, great morning, great morning. 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here on WDRB Media, the voice of the community. It's time for the It's About You radio show. Each and every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I have the pleasure, the privilege, and the honor to have this platform. And every week I say I don't take it lightly. I don't take it for granted. This is truly a blessing. Planted a seed over 45 years ago to have radio, to be a part of radio as a young man in my early teens. And I said, listening to the radio, New York City, in the Bronx, New York, late night, WBLS, listening to Frankie Crocker. And I said, one day I'm going to be on the radio. Well, 40 years went by, 3 different careers: law enforcement, professional school counselor, and now college professor. Listen, my guy's got a sense of humor. He brought it back to me. He remembered. I forgot, but he did not. So that's why I said I don't take this for granted at all. And because it's 8 o'clock in the morning, you already know somebody is driving in the car, somebody's at work, someone is having breakfast, or someone's in the gym. Wherever you are, this show is designed to get into your ears, into your heart, and hopefully into your legs, causing you to move to be the very best person you can possibly be each and every day you are awake. So with that said, I don't take it for granted. So what I want to do I always want to start with the morning motivation quote of the day. Every Tuesday morning, I start with that. Today's quote is by someone who's anonymous, but I think it's quite appropriate. It says, "Today I will do what others won't, so tomorrow I can do what others can't." Let me say that one more time. Today I will do what others won't, so tomorrow I can do what others can't. You see, it's about planting seeds. That's about stepping into your greatness, stepping into your faith, stepping into whatever you desire to do. You cannot do what others do, following others. You got to be that salmon that's swimming upstream, okay? Because when they swim upstream, they're going to new life, and they're facing danger. Oh yes, trust me, they're facing danger going up. And that means when you do things that others won't do, you're going to face some setbacks. You're going to face some dangers. You're going to set some sleepless nights. There'll be some tears, perhaps. There'll be a lot of things happening. But here's the thing about it. You get the chance to live like others won't in the future. The late, great Muhammad Ali said, "I train in the dark so that I can live like a champ the rest of my life under the lights." You see, in the ring, everybody sees that part, but you don't see the 4 a.m. 5-mile run. You don't see in the gym. You don't see cutting back, getting a diet, and everything you're doing, proper rest. There's a lot of things you do. You'll do that in the darkness, but then your light will shine. That's your morning motivational quote today, brought to you by MauriceMcDonald.net. MauriceMcDonald.net. Go there and learn all about your amazing gut microbiome, because all disease begins in the gut. Ladies and gentlemen, I have guests all the time. And I love the shows when I have guests, because it's not about me, because I named the radio show, it's about you. And so it's the guests that I always have, but it's always those that get personal with you. First and foremost, you've heard me say that I've had 3 amazing careers. But one of the best careers I've ever had is currently, I'm an educator. Well, I have the pleasure and honor of when I first arrived here at the college, part-time and all those kinds of things. But then when I came full-time, we had a new program chair to come. And I didn't know much about her and those types of things. But when I met her, oh my goodness, you talk about a fireball. The program changed. As a matter of fact, she got our program. We went through an accreditation. The school itself is fully accredited, but our program at that time didn't have the full accreditation, and she made it her mission. Now, initially, I got to be very transparent, because I knew it was going to be a lot of work that was coming. But let me tell you, this lady brought the fire. My guest today is Miss Kiera DesChamps, and let me tell you something. She is If you ever heard the word advocate, if you look up the word advocate, her picture is going to be in the dictionary. And in a moment, I'm going to tell you why I say that. Because, how many of you know when somebody stands up for you? And sometimes it's word. They'll say things like, "Oh, yeah, I got your back. Oh, yeah, I'll do this." But forget about words. Let's talk actions. When you do the right thing simply because of that. So I'm entitling this show today, how to come back from the setback. How to come back from the setback. And I have my distinct pleasure of introducing my former boss. Can you imagine that? Exactly right. Miss Kiera, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. What an intro.
Hey,
I'm inspired.
you inspired? Hey,
I'm inspired
you
by
inspired
your
me.
intro.
Yes, that is so true. If you would, please tell my audience who you are, a little about you, and then we'll get into this and we'll talk about what I just talked about, standing up for somebody. But if you would introduce yourself and tell them who you are, what you do.
Wow. I'm Kiera DesChamps. And yes, I am Maurice's former boss. I never thought of it that way because I've always seen you and some of my employees as colleagues. You see them as colleagues because I learned so much from you and I learned so much from them as educators. I always saw myself as the person who just helped navigate the needs that you had, or advocate, like you said, advocate for, different programs that you wanted, or whatever that is. So I always like to position myself as an extension of my team. So calling you me being your former supervisor, let's just say colleagues and friends.
Absolutely, and that makes it so much better. But I guess we'll just dive in at that particular point.
Yeah, I mean, we did meet at the college. At this point in my life right now, I have my own consulting group called KD Consulting. It's basically years of all the experience that I've had at teaching higher education, working with at-risk youth, therapeutic programming, and most recently, the senior living industry, and working with downsizing adult children who are taking care of their parents, making decisions. So it's been kind of a conglomerate of all of those things and all of the experience that I've had. And now I'm doing it as a consultant. So it really is about branding, helping people in organizations elevate their brand presence, to understand how to build strategic partnerships, and then, of course, execute revenue. So at the end of the day, there is an end goal that people have. And if you're a small business, I help small businesses in those ways. I coach people, into either if they're trying to lead or they want to teach. It doesn't matter the space. It's really about who they are, how they want to show up, expanding their resources so they can, have a bigger presence. And then, of course, meeting their goals. And I'm all about execution. It's all about execution. Like you mentioned the accreditation, I had to laugh because it was not well received in the beginning. So I laugh at that because I went through it before, and I knew the undertaking, and I knew that it had to have buy-in. And I knew I had to get you and the team bought into it before it was even going to happen. And so that's just the power of being able to establish genuine relationships. When you have a power of influence, people start to trust you. I'm like, if they don't trust me, they're not going to follow me. If they don't understand that, it can be done, they're probably not going to say yes. So.
Yes, and that buy-in was so important. And Joe, I look back now, all these years later, how powerful this accreditation has been. And as a matter of fact, we're about to go through it again. Setting this up and how the platform has been using and how it's helped our students. And the idea that it goes back to what I said about that seed. Planting a seed in the beginning can be very difficult. And the journey, and the good thing about the seed is something I had learned from church. We've been going here recently. Been doing a series on saying we do dirt, because you got to get in the dirt. A seed got to be. You can't put a seed on concrete. You can't put seed just sitting on top of the ground. It's got to be planted deep in good soil. And then when it rains, it gets muddy. It gets dark. It feels like dirt. If you fall and taste, it's gonna taste like dirt. So it's ugly. But out of that dirt, out of that dirt comes something great, you know,
Yeah.
and it's difficult to see. And I just got to tell my audience to go how I feel about you. First and foremost, let's go back 2015. Those of you
Yeah.
who've been here before, I've mentioned about my mother. My mother passed away from complications from Alzheimer's, and so from 2007 to 2014, everything else, I was a only child taking care of a mom who had Alzheimer's, and having to move her from New York City, and me teaching, I had to come back to school to teach. I retired from law enforcement, and so I was balancing caretaking and work and doing everything, and the emotional part of it, you know, and the idea of knowing that you have a mother that's not doing well, and the potential for her to transition is very real. So work kept me sane. Well, there was a time that my supervisor called me in for an evaluation, and this is Mr. Champs we're talking about here, and did my evaluation. Everything was great, and about maybe a couple months later, she comes back to do it again, and she says, "Aren't there some things you've done you didn't tell me about?" I'm thinking, well, yeah, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, and you said to me, "Toot it. I need you to toot it." And I'm thinking, what's going on? So with that said, tell my audience that process, what was going on behind the scenes. And by the way, it was said I wasn't doing my job. It was said that I
Yeah.
wasn't doing anything, but you and I had a conversation in your office one day, and I broke down in
Yeah.
tears, and I told you what I was dealing with, and you asked me if I needed time off. And
Yeah.
I think I said no. Teaching keeps me sane, you know, but I
Yeah.
was going through a lot of things myself. So if you would tell my audience about what happened.
So yeah, that was a lot that you were dealing with at the time, and ironically enough, we're both human services professionals, and so we're the people who understand what it's like to have a village and to build resources and support around people, and we just have that heart, right? Generally, kind of have that heart of service, and yes, you were dealing with a lot, having to, leave, take care of your mom, family, all the things that, a lot of us have gone through. But to have a supportive system around you, especially an employer, that understands it and is going to give you grace and say, hey, we got you. Don't worry about it. This is a season. It doesn't take away all the experience and all the leadership and all that you've done because you're going through a season right now. So that was very important to note. So during this, every year there's through this particular process, a person they can, be renewed on a contract every year for the first 3 years. After the third year, then you're pretty much not tenured, but you're pretty much on as a permanent employee. So each year is like another trial, so to speak. And so it was evaluation time. And so I did performance evaluations for all my team. And the thing about me as a leader, I've always been one of those supervisors that if I was going to let someone go or end their contract or something like that, it would never be a surprise. Like they would know that it was coming. Like it was, I coach to performance. So it's something that I'm going to speak to them about a year in advance. I'm not going to wait until performance to say, oh, by the way, you haven't been doing these things. And I'm also big on that, but I'm also big on having people to celebrate themselves, celebrate your wins. I'm big on that. And it's hard too when we're very humble. And it's like, oh, I don't want to toot my own horn. I don't want to, brag on myself. But I think it's important to keep that list of things that, hey, what did I do differently this year? Okay, that is a big deal. So yeah, so asking those questions were kind of normal for me. But in this particular situation, I remember submitting these performances, and there were some questions around yours in particular. And so I remember sitting in a room and having these conversations because I was just as shocked myself, like why are we questioning this particular person's performance? Why is this a problem? We've never had an issue. His name has never come up in a negative way. And plus, you reported directly to me, not my skip level. And so just having those conversations made me a little leery and suspicious, I guess, in trying to figure out what was happening. But I knew that I needed to get some more information. And I had left that meeting. I went to a colleague and I'm asking this colleague, hey, I'm being told not to recommend, this employee, Maurice, to another year, and I'm not understanding why. And so I got to my colleague and I was asking her, hey, can you help me out? Like, what am I supposed to do about this? And so that's when she had recommended, hey, let's find the other information. She was just as shocked, by the way. But let's get together and let's get some more information. Let's build the case, so to speak, which I thought was still weird because I wasn't doing that. I didn't have to do that with anyone else. So it was asking me to build this case. And I was like, okay, no problem, which was not a problem. And it's ironic that in the midst of me doing this, you were actually planning a conference for your students, a professional conference that we participated every year. You were, in the midst of doing well and doing right by your students, as you always have done. And so I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, I could never tell him that this is happening. Like, there's no way. And I thought it was my duty at that time to shield you from the drama, so to speak. And I would just do this behind the scenes. I'm like, he's in the middle of planning. I'm not going to say, hey, by the way, this is happening in the background. And I just let it go, definitely praying about, going through the situation. But I remember going back, I think it was like the next week, and I had a meeting and I was asked, what did I decide as far as moving you forward or not? And I said, I don't agree with not moving him forward. He's, and I went down the list of, he's great for students, good leadership, he has great presence on campus, he does this for his colleagues, he's been teaching, like all of the things of who you are as a person and your character. And so I made a recommendation to move you forward. So then it's like, dun, dun, dun.
Yes. Yeah. And boy, that didn't turn out good for you, because I want my audience to know that the bottom line was she didn't recommend my termination, and the powers that be did not like that. And several months later, maybe 9 months go by, and I get a text, and the text basically from you. I think all of us got a text.
No. It was only like a couple weeks.
Couple weeks?
No.
Oh.
No, it was because it was performance review time. And
oh.
Performance review time is like around March,
gotcha.
April.
Yes.
And that's when you make a decision if they're going to return in the fall semester.
Right.
So this was spring. That's
spring. Right.
As a matter of fact, I mean, and it's grained in my head.
Yes.
I know the experience.
You know the date. Hey.
Yeah.
Because
and so it was definitely spring, and I remember making that decision and turned in the performance, and it was probably like a week or 2 weeks later that I had a meeting, and you kind of know, like when you know that spidey sense that people have.
Yes.
And I remember I normally met with my supervisor a certain day of the week, every single week.
Yeah.
Well, that particular week, the meeting was changed to another day on a Monday morning. And I was like, I wonder why they changed my time. Like, they never changed my time. Like, what's happening? So my time got changed, and I was thinking, okay, I don't know what's up. But in my hand on that Monday, I remember going to the office, and I had a stack of all of my people, everybody who reported to me. I had all their performance reviews done, all nicely packaged, everything done, because, that's the way I do things with my job. I had everything done to turn in. And when I went downstairs, I saw the security guard in the hallway. The security guard of all security guards. Everybody knows him. Everybody seen him before. We know how this goes. And I saw him just kind of walking down the hallway, just happened to be, and I looked at him, and then I went into the office. And when I got into the office, HR was also in the office. And so at that point, of course, but I turned in everything. I said, well, here are all the performance reviews. Like I did my work on the day I'm getting terminated, but here's all the work I've done. Because, being a person of integrity, you still do the right thing. So I gave I gave her everything, and then they go over the whole spiel, and then I get up, and now I'm being escorted, by the security back to my office because I had things in my office, and then I call my husband, who also worked on the campus at that time, and told him, and he's like, I'm on my way. So he comes over, and I'm sitting in my office looking around, going, what is it that I need to pack? And I look around, I'm going, nothing. I don't need anything from here. There was just a point of closure that I didn't realize I was at that place. I grabbed my, just a couple of things. And then they said, well, they'll pack up any other personal belongings that you have here. I just looked around the room going, I don't really need the diploma. I've already gotten that degree. I don't really have to take this. My only thing I told him, I said, I need somebody to make sure I get my plants.
Yeah, let's see. Man, and that whole piece of being terminated, and because you stood up for me, and I remember you text, and I remember
I texted my team.
You texted us, and we were all coming out the office at the same room. What happened? What? And that feeling of, and I went back in my office, and I was furious, and I knew, but I felt like, okay, this is unreal. And I knew I was next. In my mind, I felt like that my buffer had left. And this is for my audience to understand this. When somebody comes at you, or when people come at you, yes, it's ugly. It's a hurtful thing. Tears and whatever else you may go through. But I titled this show, The Idea, How to Come Back from a Setback. And so when you think about it now, years later, so many things happened after that because I got motivated to go back to school that's where I got my school counseling license. I decided to go back to school online, scared to death. And the first time taking classes online, and this was many years ago, and I said, you know what? I'm going to do this, prepare myself for my next career because I always wanted to help children. First of all, I'm an advocate I'm a change agent. That's what I believe in doing. But then I decided I've been delaying it, but now my why just came in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So,
and it wasn't even, and I didn't even tell you right away. Like I didn't even share it with you because, it was just something like, one, I didn't want to say, oh, guess what happened and guess what I did. I mean, it wasn't one of those situations. Right. But I do remember, I don't know if it was a phone call or you and I talked face to face, but I didn't tell you right away why and what went down in behind the closed doors. But I finally let you know, and you were just like, what, like, oh my gosh, it's like you had no idea. And I think that's important for people who are listening to understand that there are conversations in rooms that you're not in. What are those conversations about? Like, what are people saying about you in rooms that you're not in? And the beauty, and this is not for me, I'm just saying the beauty of having the right people in the room is being able to have people that can speak up on your behalf. Like that has a lot, like I talk about you are the brand all the time. And I say, who are you when nobody's watching? Who are you when, so there's twofold. One, what type of leader am I to be able to be a person of integrity? Like I want people who are listening to say, what type of leader am I? That's what I want them to ask themselves. And are you willing to be the person of integrity in front of your bosses, in front of the boardroom, in front of, your people who are getting ready to give you a promotion? Are you willing to take a stand and say the right thing and do the right thing, even if it costs you? right? So that's one thing as a leader to remember. And then as somebody who has a person advocating for you, just know it could have gone either way. It could have gone either way, Maurice.
Right. You're right. Listen,
You know, a
you're right.
person could go in that space and I could have just said, yeah, because you know why? Because that was also my year to get renewed. And I could have been renewed at the college. And I could have easily said, well, forget him. I need my promotion. I need my security. I want my retirement. I could have easily said those things.
Yes.
And that does get in the way sometimes of our integrity. Sometimes that does get in the way of being true, because there's this carrot dangling over us, or somebody's like, I got to get my raise. I got to get mine. But, you know, nothing, I feel like if that would have happened and I was that person that chose kind of like self, I don't think anything else would have prospered as well in my life.
Come on.
You know,
that's right.
going forward.
Look at you now. And listen, hey, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. We're going to pick up on that point right there, guys. We'll be right back. What if I told you that some of the most powerful influences in life live in your gut? That's right. Trillions of tiny microbes make up your gut microbiome. And they're busy chatting with your brain, your immune system, even your mood. These conversations are called gut accesses. Think of it as your body's group chat. When the gut speaks, everything listens. Your energy, focus, and digestive system might feel it too. The good news is small changes like taking P84, 84 organically grown fruits and superfoods harvested worldwide, which supports a healthy gut microbiome. Take it in powder form. Simply pour it in 8 ounces of water. Then take Protandim, which has been clinically tested to reduce oxidative stress in your body by 40% in 30 days. It can give you the healthy edge. Imagine turmeric, green tea, ashwagandha, and many more healthy supplements that don't just provide supplementation, but activation. This Healthy Edge Pack will significantly impact your overall health. Change one thing and change everything. Go to MauriceMcDonald.net. That's MauriceMcDonald.net to learn more and get the Healthy Edge, or call 877-634-8194 to get free samples and learn how you can take charge of your health today. Guys, we're back. We're back here on the It's About You radio show, WDRBmedia.com. Ladies and gentlemen, that first segment went by so fast. But let me tell you, you just heard some amazing story of why I'm connected to this lady. Because let me just cut to the chase. She could have thrown me under the bus. She could have said, I'm getting my pension, I'm getting my check, I'm gonna get promoted here, because she was on the, to me, in my opinion, she had made such a change in our program. She was going to be on a fast track. By now, had she stayed, she would probably been up here. But let me tell you what happened. The fact that she stood up for me, and little did I know behind the scenes what was going on. And it wasn't until after she left and everything else that I really got the appreciation. And I felt like, that woman stood up. So with that said, let's think about this. When you look back on that big setback, what was the hardest moment for you, and kind of what kept you from giving up?
Oh, well, I'm going to say it was not an easy first couple of weeks, because for myself, I pride myself in doing my best. I pride myself in, winning and, learning all the things that I need to learn, following the rules, listening to my boss, making sure everything is good. So I pride myself in that. And so at that time in my life, my job was attached to who I thought I was, like my image. And so it's like being rejected, not, for the job, being able to try to figure out how to keep that separate. And that was very blurred. It was very much together. that was my identity. That was, I was planning on retiring. I had actually just started my doctoral program in educational leadership. My goal was to continue, I'd done fostered relationships across campus, interdisciplinary, partnerships, just growing within that 3 years that I was there, and just really implementing some really, great things. And so when you get a blow like that and it comes out of nowhere, all of a sudden I'm second guessing every single thing about myself. So then I start to turn inside and go, well, maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was. Well, Kiera, maybe you're not as smart as you think you are. Maybe you need more experience. Maybe people just didn't like you, or maybe you just start kind of just eating yourself up in so many ways. And so those first couple of days, I can tell you, the drive home, my husband walked me out. He walks me to my car with the security guy, because we know the security guy. I'm like, I'm not going to tear up the place. I'm not going to blow the place up. You know what I mean? Like, we're all walking out, and I'm being all hard, like, I ain't going to cry on campus. So my husband walks me out to the car, and I get in the car, and I take him to go his car, because, again, he worked on campus at the time. So I take him and drop him off, and then, of course, he's following me home. So all the way home, of course, I'm boo-hooing. And I remember getting home, and I text everybody on my way out just so people would know. And then after that, I kind of went into like a dark place, like just for like the first few days or so. And when I say dark place, it was more of, I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to have conversations. People were calling my husband, my friends. I had friends that night that just showed up with fried chicken, chocolate cake, and a bottle of wine. So, and I didn't answer the call. So they just told my husband, we're coming. When you always got to have them friends that just pull up.
Yeah. They going to show up. We don't hear nothing. Hear the cake,
they
girl. I got you. Yeah.
They didn't care. Yeah. And they showed up, and that same day, and we're talking, and then the next. So here's the thing, Maurice. I had a plan to be depressed. Like, my plan was, I was planning depression, and I was going, okay, this has happened to me. I just want to just sulk in it. I just want to go dark, and I just want to sleep, and I just want to be in a dark room. So that first night, here come my friends. So now I got to be up, and they're all talking, we're laughing, and they also had worked for the college, so they knew all the stuff. The next day, I was like, okay, today I'm staying in bed all day. I'm not brushing my teeth. I'm not doing nothing. So my husband leaves for work. I get a ring on the doorbell. My best friend travels in from out of town. She's got cookies. She's got wine. She's got magazine. And she's like, I said, today's depression day. Like, why are you here? Oh no, we're not staying in the house. Oh no, I'm coming over here. I want to be with you. So she hangs out with me. Then she takes me out to lunch. So I have to get dressed to go. And she just like, no, we're going. I don't care what we're doing. Margaritas, whatever. We're going out. And I'm like, so every day that I plan depression and I plan to be in this sulky moment, I get a call or somebody shows up, and I'm just like, oh my God, can y'all just let me be depressed?
Yeah. I just had something happen to me. Can I have my moment?
But here's the thing. The people who are around me or know me, family, my mom, everybody, they're just like, they're pouring into me spiritually. And they're like, that God's going to bring you through this. Like, we all know. You know what I mean? Like, we all know. This is going to sting for a little while, but this is going to hurt, but. And so with that, and, being able to get through the feelings and talking and that kind of thing, and the prayer really started to help me to heal. And so I got to the point where I was like, okay, I think I'm going to give the devil just a couple of days to beat me down and to tell me how I'm not smart, how I'm not all these things. And then I'm going to rise back up. And that's when God began to really push me forward. Like, okay, I understand that was a setback. We understand, but I only wanted you there for 3 years anyway.
Come on.
Like, I only wanted you there for that time. anyway. God, did not have a plan for you to be there to retire. That wasn't my plan for you. That was your plan. That wasn't my plan. So I'm sorry you're disappointed. This is my conversation. I'm sorry you're disappointed. I love you. I love you dearly. But I have the plans for you. I know what plans I have for you. So I'm going to step you through to the next thing. And that's exactly what he began to do. And so that setback, what I was feeling was a setback. Again, we hear this all the time, was a setup for a comeback. Mm-hmm. And even though in the natural realm, we don't see it because we have no clue what God has got for us next. Right. In the spiritual realm, he's like, oh, you think this was good? You just wait.
I got something else.
You think this little job, what you do, you thought that was a big deal. Oh, you got an accreditation? Good girl. Oh, that was great.
Yeah.
You think that was great. Wait till you see what I'm preparing for you. And so it was one of those things that just kept going. And I definitely give God glory for strengthening my faith, because that was a test of my faith, strengthening of my faith. It was a test of my village of support of people, the prayers, the encouragement, things like that, my family. And it helped me to really understand more about who I am. And who I am is not what people think of me.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Not identifying who I am with accolades or things I've done or medals or awards or titles. That's not my identity. So understanding that no matter where I am and what I'm doing or what role, my identity is in God. My identity is in Christ. Mm-hmm. So I have to be able to work on separating the two.
Yes.
And not allow that person to take all of my power, because that's what I felt at that time.
That's right.
Oh my God, well, who am I now? I'm like, well, that person, later on I could look back and go, well, that person doesn't identify you.
That's right.
They don't,
and
that's not who you are.
And speaking of now, tell my audience what because I know you've written, you're author now, you have your own consultant business, but tell us since that moment, how you've been elevated and the circles you're in now.
Wow. Yes. So I started working in, which is a whole nother story. When I started working in the senior living industry, helping a person grow their business, and then went from there to basically running her business. And then a corporate entity bought it. It expanded. So I moved up the ladder there. And so I started working in a corporate world, which I was used to education and nonprofits. This is my first time ever working corporate. So I became the senior vice president of a corporate company. So now I'm running sales teams, business development, training, teaching, all of those, everything that I've ever done has now come to, into that role. And it's crazy because even, it's not like setbacks aren't going to keep coming in your life, right? But everything brings you to the next thing. So I worked for that company for, 4 or 5 years. And then that company went bankrupt. The bigger corporate entity went bankrupt. So I'm like, oh, here we are again, losing another job, here's the same story. And I'm like, no, we've been here before. We've done this before. It's not my first time getting fired, whatever. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
So then another company calls and recruits me. The CEO's like, hey, your company is going bankrupt. We want you to come over here. So then I go over there and I lead up the whole entity as a, senior vice president, sales, traveling not cross country, United States, all of that, did that for about 18 months. But within that role, God began to say things to me. So here's the thing that with my husband, I've been married for 32 years. When I say at a job, and this has happened, and again, that wasn't my first time getting terminated. I'm not a bad employee, I promise. But it's like, Kiera, I'm seeing a pattern. You keep getting fired. So there's a joke in my house. where I start to discern. It's like God starts to kind of tell me in advance, little by little, like something's not right. Like I'm going to be shifting you. Sometimes I don't know how or what's going to happen, but I start to have those feelings. And so with that particular job before I launched my consulting company, I started having those feelings probably, 8-10 months ahead of time. And when I said it in my home, my husband's like, oh, Lord, something's about to happen.
Here we go again.
Kira's having her intuitions. There's something not right about the job. Something, I'm not feeling it. And he's like, oh, Lord, what's about to happen, Lord? And sure enough, God was teaching me to get in position. And I didn't know what that meant, but he was letting me know through some of the studies that I was doing and reading some of the biblical characters that he was like, I'm going to take you through some things and I'm going to be with you the whole time. But right now I need you to get in position. And getting position meant for me, finish my books that I was writing. I was still working, but in the background, I'm writing my book. My husband and I are finishing our devotional. I started my LLC, getting a position for my consulting company, like listening to what God was saying in the meantime. And then when we parted ways in April, that morning, this is just this past April, that afternoon, I'd launched my business. It was ready.
See,
I was in position. God had put me in position. And like I said, I didn't know when it was going to happen. I just needed to be ready.
Be ready. And I think my listeners need to know that when setbacks come, don't ever stop putting yourself in position.
Right.
Have your cry moment. I mean, that's normal. Have the flesh moment. Yeah, that's okay.
Eat the chicken.
Eat the chicken. Eat the cake. But they say, hey, eat the cake, Eddie Mae. What do they got to do? But what you don't do is sit back and add that loss to be your value. Because, the enemy comes at you. Like you said, I'm not good. You're not good as you think you are, and all those kinds of things. But tell my audience sometimes, what mistake do you think people may commonly make when trying to recover too quickly from a setback? Because sometimes I think you need to be able to hear from God or evaluate. What are your thoughts on some of that?
This last time when the one company went bankrupt, and then the other company was calling and asking me to come, I was in a pivotal moment at that time because I was like, do I want to jump out of this? It was a tough job that I was in. So it was almost like not that I wish bankruptcy on any company, but it was almost like a relief, like, whew, take a little break. The company's closing down, like, whew. But so I was in that moment of, do I want to continue being in this kind of field, even if it's with another company? So one of the things that I did in my prayer time, asking God, is this where you want me to be? I got up early on a Sunday morning and I went to Crowder's Mountain. My husband had no idea that I had gotten up and left. I was just like, I need to go to the mountain. Like, I need to clear my head. I need to just be. And so I drove to Crowder's Mountain, hiked all the way to the top, and I just sat there. And the whole way up, it was pray. It was kind of like, God, I don't know, what you want me to do. I'm listening to a certain couple of songs that are very meditating and very healing for me, all the way up. And one of the songs is called Quiet. It was talking about being quiet. I'm just going to be quiet, and I'm going to let you tell me what to do. And I'm telling you, it was on repeat all the way up the mountain. And I sat up there, had my little snack. I took a picture and sent it to my husband. He's like, where are you? What? Are you on Crowder's Mountain? I'm like, here's where I am. And he's like, okay. I was like, I'm just up here talking and listening to God. And so what I would say to people, that's the beat you have to take. Like, you got to give yourself time. Now, I get it that if we're financially, struggling, or you're thinking, oh my gosh, am I going to have enough money to not work for a month? Am I going to have enough money to not work for 6 weeks or something like that? So sometimes the pressure of that makes you jump right back in. And I understand that. But if you have a beat. And I say this to people that it's happened to. Listen, go have a conversation with your spouse. Go look at your finances. Have a conversation. See if there's some way that you can give yourself 2 to 3 weeks of nothing, no working. See if you can financially make that math work, right? Take the beat, take the walk, go visit your friends, go visit your family, go have coffee with somebody you didn't get to do it because you were working so much and so hard. Go do something that you have not been able to do and go connect. Go back and connect to God. Have, read, study something to be able to get back out there. Because you know how it is. When you get back into the job, you're hitting the rat race again. You're right back at doing all those things that you're like, oh my gosh, I don't get a chance to do anything. I don't get a chance to rest. I don't get a chance. All the things that you didn't get to do and you sacrificed for your job. Yeah. Now, guess what? They let you go.
Yes.
Now what?
You're just a number in the first place. And oftentimes,
you're just a number.
Yeah, I look at what happened with you. Everything you've gone through is for such a time as this. You've been utilizing all your gifts, because sometimes that setback could mean for you to go start the business you've been wanting to. Somebody listening here, they always want to go to barber school. You've been cooking all your life. Everybody's been saying, girl, you should be a chef. You should get your own business. And you've been out of fear. And now you're pushed out into a situation. Seek with your next plan. Your next plan might not be at somebody else's job. It might be an opening for you now to go be the person you were supposed to be, walk in your gift, and dance to a different tune. You're not snapping to somebody else's whim of value. You go out and create your own value and not feel so bogged down, like you said, financial, which is another story that we did talk about, obviously, is getting your money in a situation so you can have some leeway. Because nowadays, hey, how many people were just like you every single day? They walk in and they face, but I've been here 10 years. I did this. I was your best. I brought all the clients to this agency, but somebody comes in, they don't listen. You're not, did they say you're only good as your last performance? No, you're only as good as your supervisor think you are.
Yeah, and it comes down to that budget, right? It comes down to,
can we afford you?
Somebody's got to get. Somebody's got to get.
I ain't losing my job, because how many people say I ain't losing mine? I hate it for you.
I hate it for you.
Yeah.
I was just telling someone I met just this week. They were kind of having that spidey sense moment, right? The spidey sense of something. I don't know if I really want to continue doing this work. I don't know if I want this job anymore. I'm not really sure. Which, you and I know it's about burnout, right? Sometimes it's burnout. It's sometimes the values are not aligning anymore. Sometimes it's a number of things. So what I said, I was giving her my story. Get in position. Even if you're currently in your job right now, or relationship, it doesn't matter. It's all the same. There are some things that you may want to go ahead and put in place now while you're still working. Like you said, sign up for that program. Go ahead and sign up for that certificate. Go ahead and take that night class. Go ahead and check your finances, making sure, you know what? If I'm not going to be here much longer, let me go ahead and start really saving these 6 months because I have an exit plan. It's okay to continue working the job that you're working or being in a relationship, but after a while, it's like, get myself in order. Start putting things in order now so that when the termination comes or the closure comes or when you decide I'm leaving, you have your stuff in order. So I think that's really important for people to understand. Don't wait until something's done to you, right? Don't wait at that moment, because even when it's done, there were times that I'm thinking, yeah, I got terminated, but I didn't want to be there anyway. Like, why were you there?
Right.
I remember that particular time, the years ago that we're talking about, I remember my sister telling me, and I said, she didn't renew my contract and whatever. My sister said, girl, you hated working there. She said, the past year, she said, you knew this was coming. She said, we talked about it. She's like, yeah, you weren't happy. And my best friend told me, she's like, you wouldn't have left there if they did not let you go. And you would have been miserable. you would have stayed because I'm dedicated. I'm a person of my word. I want to make sure all this stuff. But I would have continued working, becoming bitter, burnout, whatever. I would have continued doing those things. And she was like, you weren't really happy the past year. You did not like it. So it's a good thing that you were let go.
That is, listen, and this is part of not knowing what's going to happen, but God knows. I look back at what happened. I wouldn't have left the college to go be the school counselor. I had a colleague telling me, oh, you should go take the school counselor certification. You'd be a good school counselor. But meeting a student, being a former dare officer, meeting a 10-year-old that grew up to be a 24-year-old who remembered me, a sidewalk encounter about what had happened to him through working with me, and he said, can I give you a hug on the street? And then I realized it was the same week my mother passed. So I knew, I said, yeah. God is telling me. I went back to my office, I said, what are you telling me? There's some more kids in the school like him. So that's why I decided, after that happened to you, I enrolled in school. And then it led me to leave to go become that school counselor. And then that made me a better, those 3 years as a school counselor, ninth graders, that took me to another whole level of education and the counseling piece and being in tune with the students. And I thought, and wouldn't you know it, that same individual we're talking about shows up at my school. Didn't want me to be here. 2 years later, shows up on a board because she graduated from that school, and they had a foundation to help children stay in school funding. And she was taking that position. She had retired from this college, and she shows up over there, and they're serving us lunch. And there I am getting my salad, talking to my school counselor, not paying attention to who's serving. And she looked up and saw me, and of course called me Marcus. Hello. Oh, and I looked and saw her, and that scripture that says he will make your enemies your footstool. And I kept thinking, what you thought, I left on my terms. I resigned. I resigned. And
not Marcus.
Not Mark. Call me Marcus. All this, I'm thinking, what? And I've been called a lot of things. Marcus has never been one of them, okay? But when I look back at it, those years, and now for me to come back to the college, I look at it, my Creator was protecting me. He wanted me out of here, and then wanted me to see her again, and made way for me to come back. And I said, and sometimes you got to read. Now, it was painful me leaving because I enjoyed it, but I had to do what I had to do because I didn't feel safe. I felt like any minute I'm gonna get the axe, okay? But what you're not gonna do?
That's true.
I'm like you said, I prepared myself. Like you just said, I prepared myself to leave because I know I'm only gonna be here for a season.
I'm only gonna be here for a season.
I know that.
And I think it's important for people to understand that we are appointed and put in position for a season. Like, it can be a season. To never get attached to anything. It's not that you can't have relationships, or I'm not saying not to trust, what you're doing, but just understand that in the back of your head, this could just be a little while.
Yeah.
And whatever my purpose is during that time, whether it's a 2-year stay, a 3-year, 5-year job or role, what is it that, what am I there for? What am I here to learn? What am I here to teach? Like, what do people need from me while I'm here? What do I need from others? What are my opportunities while I'm here? How can I master my craft while I'm here? Because I know that this could be a temporary assignment. So I've always seen my life as I'm on an assignment, and I don't know how long I'm going to be here, but I'm going to do the best and be the best and, get as much opportunity out of this as I can, and just not take that time for granted.
That's exactly right. Listen, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Did you know all disease begins in the gut? It's true. Your gut is the foundation of your entire health. When it's balanced, your body thrives. But when it's out of balance, everything from fatigue, weight gain, mood swing, and chronic illness begins. Your gut isn't just about digestion. It's home to trillions of bacteria that affects your immune system, your energy, and your emotions. The good news is there's P84. 84 fruits and vegetables organically grown all over the world into an amazing product designed to help you to feel better, designed to help you thrive and win. Simply go to MauriceMcDonald.net. That's MauriceMcDonald.net to learn all about P84 and get it in your system today. That's MauriceMcDonald.net and learn all about your gut microbiome. We're back, guys. Here, WDRB Media, voice of the community, the It's About You radio show. This has been a fantastic show, and time goes by so fast. So before we leave, Kiera, I love the fact that you say now we're colleagues, and I love that part to say that for sure. But you have the floor. Share from your heart what you want my listeners to know, and how can they get in touch with you and all that good stuff too.
Well, one, I want to end with, before we wrap up, I want to say that I don't have any ill feelings against, being terminated or the actual person as far as being let go. Because what I realize is everybody has some type of duty or something that's going to impact your life, right? Whether it's your supervisor, whether it's something, there's always going to be something. But I look back and I'm actually thankful for what was done. I'm thankful for being let go at that time, because it freed me up and it put me on a different trajectory to another plan that God had for me. And so I learned a few things about her as a leader. I learned, the respect, the experience. Like, I can't take away the knowledge, the experience, the expertise, all of those things that this person had. But, being in the realm of human services, we understand people and we understand dynamics. And sometimes hurt people. And sometimes people are having their own situations going on in their own lives, and they don't know how to articulate that the right way.
Yeah, that's right.
They don't know how to articulate that the right way, right? And so, unfortunately, we get caught up in crosshairs as well. So I would say to people, when things happen, we have to take a beat. We will, when bad things happen, we do need to take a beat to heal for ourselves, but also don't carry and harvest those types of anger and unforgiveness for the rest of your life, because it's not going to free you up to be the person you really are. And how can I then be a forgiving person and a loving person if I can't forgive, someone who I feel that's wronged me? So I definitely want to put that out there, because there are people probably listening thinking that boss and this person and that person and my family member and this person, everybody's wronged me. Yes, that's probably very true. But what do we do with that? It's really up to us on how we handle those situations going forward. And I never want any of my past, issues or past, any unforgiveness to stay in there, because I'm not going to be free to move forward in my life. So I just want to put that out there.
Absolutely.
So as far as people following me, KD Consults. It's www.kdconsults.com is my website. My book is on Amazon. It's called After the Tour, Guiding Your Prospects from Interest to Action. It's really about how to close business, how to build genuine relationships so that you can support your prospects of whatever business that you're in, how to properly, build those relationships so that you can execute revenue. And then my husband and I also put out a devotional book. It's called 40 Days and 40 Nights. A guide to finding God's peace one day at a time. And that can also be seen on Amazon. So when you go on Amazon, put in 40 Days and 40 Nights by Louis and Kiera DesChamps, and you'll see that title there. But I am also on Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm all over LinkedIn. But you can just look me up, Kiera DesChamps at KD Consulting.
Oh, yes. I am so glad to have had you here, and I'm so glad what you said about the boss as well, because without me going through that, you see, this wasn't my first time. I had that in the police department. I have a master's degree, mainly 80% of it because of a supervisor, a group of supervisors who were out to get me. And I got mad enough to go get a master's degree, driving 90 miles one way to go to school. And when I graduated and when I retired, I thanked them. They didn't know why. I thanked them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I needed that push. And again,
Right.
sometimes, you know what they say, opportunity comes to us sometimes it's disguised in overalls and hard work
Yeah.
and some people. But when you
Yeah.
look back at it, what happened, and look at I am now, all the struggles, everything I've been through, I've been protected. You know,
Yeah.
in the midst of it, God had me the whole time. Now,
Yeah.
it was painful, you know,
Yeah.
and that's
Don't
why,
feel, it doesn't,
yeah,
it doesn't always feel good
no, it doesn't feel
when
good
you're
at
going
all
through it.
when you're going through
And
it.
you know what?
Hmm.
And you know what? The coolest thing is, and I know we got to wrap up, but when I had my, your faith is being tested, right?
Right.
And God always knows that I'm the person that's going to testify and I'm going to tell people.
Yeah.
And that could be my Achilles heel
That's right.
because I'm the one that testifies. So things happen so I can go back and tell how good God is,
Come on.
right?
Come on.
And so when the last time it happened in April, my friends and family, they weren't even fazed, which really made me mad. They weren't even fazed that it was another layoff or setback. They were just like, oh, we can't wait to hear how good God is. Oh, we can't wait to hear your next testimony. And I'm just like, can I just be depressed for 3 days? No, you're not depressed.
That's good.
You already got this. And it's kind of like I'm not even giving space for the depression right now.
That's right.
It never. I don't get to do that. I don't do that well.
Yes.
So it's one of those things where God's like, next. And so instead of my friends or family or church members saying, oh, poor Kiera. No, they don't poor Kiera me.
No.
You know what they do? They go, oh, I'm going to pray about it. And I can't wait till you tell us how good God
There it is. There it is. Thank you so much for being here today, guys. Listen, we'll be back next week on the It's About You radio show. Follow me on also my YouTube channel, It's About You Radios. Go there. We'll be in the building. We'll see you next week.